welcome back to educator.com. For this next lesson on integers and order of operations, now that we went over all the different ways we can solve integers, we're going to put them together into the same problem and solve it by using order of operations. So remember that when you solve, you have to solve in this order. So parentheses is always first, and then it's exponents, and then after that it's multiplication and division. So if I have, and this is the same, okay, you don't multiply before you divide. You just do it in the order from left to right. So if you have multiplication and division, then you would just solve it in that order. You don't solve one over the other, okay? And same thing for addition and subtraction. So if you have something to subtract before you add, then you would just do that in the order from left to right instead of adding first and then subtracting, okay? So again, parentheses, then exponents, then multiplication and division, and then addition and subtraction, okay? So the first problem is going to be -4 plus 8 times -3 divided by 6 minus 2. So within all these operations, I have to multiply and divide first. Now, the multiplication and division, there's no order between those two, so I just have to solve it out, whichever comes left to right. So then I'm going to solve this first right here, okay? So 8 times -3, when you multiply integers, you have to think of how many, or look at how many negative signs there are. There's only one negative sign. Only this one has a negative. So my answer is going to be a -24. Okay? After you solve one thing out, write out the rest. Okay, so -4 plus the 8 divided by 6 minus 2. So I rewrote the whole problem with only this solved. Now from here, my next step will be to divide these, right? So this is going to be -24 divided by 6. Again, the same rule applies for the negatives. So negative sign here, positive here, so my answer is going to become a negative. It's going to be -4. This is not divide, so don't get confused with that. So -4, rewrite the whole problem again, plus that minus that. Don't forget to include these signs. Okay, this sign was included when we solved it. Okay, so this was part of this answer, but this wasn't. So you're going to write out that sign here. Okay, when you write the whole problem. -4 plus a -4. I have the same sign. When you add integers, if they have the same sign, then you're just going to add up the numbers, and then you're gonna give the same sign. So for this one, -4 plus -4 is -8. I'm going to write out this right here. So -8 minus 2. I have a minus, so I'm going to use a 2- rule. 1, 2. -8 plus -2 is -10. So all of this became -10. Now I know it looks like a lot of work, but it's only a lot of work because you're doing one little step at a time. But just remember, you're multiplying integers, then dividing, then adding, and then subtracting integers, okay? The next one, 3 squared plus 2 minus 5 times 6. So I have parentheses. Now parentheses always comes first. So I'm going to solve this first. I have a minus problem, 2 minus 5. So I'm going to use the 2- rule to make this minus to a plus, the subtraction problem to an addition problem. Be 1, 2. They have different signs, so I'm going to find the difference of their absolute values. This is a 2. the absolute value of negative 5 is 5. So the difference will be 3. I'm going to give it the same sign as the 5. That's a negative, so this is a negative. And then I'm going to rewrite the whole problem. So this is 3 squared. Don't forget this plus. And then times 6. Okay? So the next step on the order of operations is exponent. So I have to solve this exponent next. 3 squared is 9 plus negative 3 times 6. Then after that, I have adding and I have multiplying. So then multiplying comes first. That will be, again, one negative sign here. So then my answer will be negative 18. Okay, write everything else out. And you don't have to write everything out, but that's the best way to do it because that prevents any mistakes that you might make. So 9 plus negative 18, again, we're adding integers. They have different signs, so you find the difference. This is a 9. Absolute value of this is 18. If you find the difference of those, you get 9. Give it the sign of the 18. And so that will be your answer, negative 9. Okay? Okay, so this next problem, I have parentheses that I have to solve out first. Negative 15 plus 4. Again, we're adding integers. They have different signs. Find the difference of their absolute values. Absolute value of negative 15 is 15. Absolute value of 4 is 4. If you find the difference of those, it's 11 with a negative sign. Okay. And then times, and another parentheses I have to solve out. Here's a minus problem. Use a 2-dash rule. 1, 2. Now again, 2-dash rule, do not apply it to any other negative signs. So this negative sign, you're not going to touch that, okay? The 2-dash rule only changes the minus to a plus, and then this number to either a negative or a positive. Negative 2 plus negative 8, they have the same sign, negative 2 and negative 8. So you're going to add the numbers, their absolute values, and then give it that same sign. So negative 2 plus negative 8 is going to be negative 10. Negative 11 times negative 10. I have 2 negative signs. That's going to make my answer a positive. Okay, 11 times 10 is 110. Okay, and that's it for this problem. That's the answer. Okay, the fourth example. Let's see, I have a negative, this divided by absolute value of that, minus a negative 7. So the first thing I want to solve out is the parentheses, which is right here. Okay, so 2 cubed. 2 cubed, be careful, 2 cubed is not 2 times 3. This is 2 times 2 times 2. Okay. And then I can just rewrite the whole thing. It's the value of negative 8 minus a negative 7. So I have to solve this out first. So 2 times 2 is 4. 4 times 2 is 8. So I'm going to make this an 8, negative 8 divided by absolute value of negative 8 minus a negative 7. So I want to solve this out too because absolute value, it's kind of like parentheses. So just solve that out first before you divide and do anything else. So absolute value is of negative 8 is 8 because the distance from 0 is 8. So I'm going to write out everything else out. Don't forget these signs. Okay, minus a negative 7. Write everything else out exactly the way it is. So negative 8 divided by 8 minus negative 7. I have to divide before I subtract, right? So do this next. Negative 8 divided by 8 is -1 because I have one negative sign. That's going to make my quotient a negative. And then I'm going to write all this out again, so minus a -7. I'm subtracting integers, so I'm going to apply the 2' rule. Make this a plus, and make that a plus. So -1 plus a 7 here. Again, I have different signs, so I'm going to find the difference of their absolute values. The absolute value of -1 is 1. Absolute value of 7 is 7. That's 6. And then I'm going to give it the sign of the 7. Okay. And that is it. That's your answer. Okay. So if any of these problems were confusing to you, if you forgot how to, do some of these, like either dividing or multiplying, maybe adding, subtracting integers, then just go back to the previous lessons and review over it, and then try to come back here and figure out these problems too, okay? So that's it for this lesson. Thank you for watching educator.com.